Welcome to Am I the Bleep?
Do you want to do the bit today, or do you want me to do the bit today? Who's
I mean,
starting?
I had a bit. I had a bit to start with.
Okay, you can start then. I'll allow it.
So anyone who's viewing the video feed of this will see the little bit of gray in my beard. By the way, this is Am I the Bleep? I'm Jonathan. He's also Jonathan. You know
Plot
this.
twist.
This is you're familiar. You know it's not important. Anyway, so I have a little bit of gray or silver in my beard now, and it's been approximately a calendar year since we've recorded. So obviously, I've aged, you've aged, and I feel like there's a tendency for people to freak out when they start seeing the little grays showing up.
Are you
But
freaking out?
I no, I've decided to go the complete opposite direction.
Mhm.
I've decided that this is a symbol of my wisdom years coming in, not unlike
Mhm.
wisdom teeth. This is my wisdom years coming in. But instead of surgically removing them, like I did the wisdom teeth, I'm going to hold on to them with both hands. So now the coaching that we provide on the show won't just be like dumb jokes or like just casual assumptions anymore. It's going to be wise and deliberate and just better, I guess. What do you think of that? For me, at least, from 50% of this podcast, it's going to be better.
Are you just noticing the grays now? Because I noticed them a while ago.
Don't say that to me. I hate
Like,
that.
like
I hate that you would say this to me during my wisdom years. How could you?
a second I saw you at 24, I'm like, wow, Jonathan, you silver fox, you.
You monster. I didn't have a beard at 24, you liar.
If you can still call it a beard.
Oh, okay.
Oh, oh.
All right, Gandalf the Brown over there. Like
To be fair though,
that's
I'm
that's
gonna
why
be
they named
very
him
gray
that, right?
early. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna be really gray early because, again, for those of you watching the video, you see, and for those of you listening, you can imagine basically this short, stocky Jewish guy who is like half of his face is beard. My girlfriend recently touched my face and she's like, "Wow, you have a small face." She thought it was all chin, but it's not. Um, but half of my mustache and my soul patch underneath is blonde, and we're starting to get a couple grays in as well. But I'm excited about it. I used that face app a while ago. I was in
Hmm.
Seattle right before the pandemic, and that app was like all the rage. And then I took a picture of myself and made myself as if I were a 60-year-old man, like with all
Okay.
the piercings and everything. And I'm an edgy grandpa. I loved it. It was it was a total vibe. So I'm ready for it. And John, are you ready for our first post?
Yeah, but I thought you said you had something to tell me about reviews and news.
Yeah, I do. Do you want to hear it?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I got it queued up right here. So we're gonna start doing this every episode. Before we actually read our first post, we want to tell you why you should listen to us, but not from our
Oh,
words, but from the words of our listeners from all over the world. In
the
fact, did you
wisest
know
words.
some of our listeners are in Ireland? That's really,
What?
yeah, it's cool. They really love the bleep.
Oh my, okay.
Okay,
Loving the bleep. That's
so
good merch.
loving
I'm just looking
that.
for merch opportunities. I gotta keep abreast of these things, or
We
else
gotta.
it'll
There
pass us
has to
by.
be a way to make money off of this. There's
There has to
gotta
be.
be.
There simply must be a way to turn something good and make money off of it.
There's gotta be a way.
There must be a way.
When I was a kid, I fell in a river and a fish bumped me out with its nose, and I knew at that moment there had to be something that.
Stop.
Stop quoting other people's IP on our
Oh
show.
my God. Okay, quick aside. Uh Johnny showed me Mike Tyson's Mysteries, and it's unhinged. It's an unhinged show. It did not age well completely, but it is a must watch if you're feeling like too sad by the world. You just need
Mhm.
to disconnect from reality for a bit. Watch this show. It is unbelievable. And it is very quotable. I can't We can't make the whole show Mike Tyson quotes though.
No, that was I Think You Should Leave. That was Tim Robinson.
Oh. Oh man, we also
Uh,
watched a lot of that too.
oh,
It's
so
all
good.
it's all mixed up in my brain now.
There's
That
gotta be
is
a way we
actually a
can make
similar kind
money
of
off of this.
comedy. There's got to be a way.
Well,
Oh yeah.
but we
Because
do
he's
have
the
triples of the posts. Triples are best. Triples are safe.
this is unlistenable. What's the review?
Okay. So from Carlos.av. Insightful and fun. 5 stars, by the way, not 4 or 5
Okay.
stars.
Oh well,
Which is
that's the only stars. That's the only amount of stars I'm familiar with. So
exactly anything less is
yeah,
unacceptable.
I can't see
P.S.
it.
Yeah. Here's what they had to say. This podcast taught me not to make assumptions and to assume positive intent. That's something we talk about a lot here. You don't know what others are going through. It's also so much fun to listen to! Exclamation point. Great job, Jonathan's. Which, if we were a superhero duo from the 1920s, the Great Job Jonathans would be pretty rad comic. We'd be slinging. We'd be I don't know what else. We'd have like a cigar. The driving crooner.
We can't keep referencing other people's
doing
we can't keep doing this. All right, do you want me to do the thing that we do instead of stealing other people's comedy? We should make our own podcast.
Yeah, I totally think we should.
Okay.
Do you want me to do the first post? I think you went first last time.
Okay, then you go first.
Yeah, it's my turn. It's my turn.
It's my turn.
Are you ready for this?
Do it.
Let's do it.
All
right. Am I the asshole for reporting a mother and her glitter monster to a flight attendant? I had a situation that happened to me on a long haul flight yesterday, and I need your verdict. I paid for an aisle seat in main cabin extra because of my long legs. It was a packed flight, and my row mates were a mother, late 30s question mark, with a young child, maybe 5 or 6. They brought a bunch of arts and crafts to keep the kids busy. Things like a glue stick, markers, paper, craft sticks. Sounds cute, right? Well, not when the glitter came out. The child, let's call her Glitter Godzilla, GG for short, was making a mess. And since she was in the middle seat, the glitter would spill onto my side. If you remember glitter from elementary school, it's messy as fuck if you try attaching it to paper. There's a lot to shake off, and most of it doesn't stick. So yeah, the glitter and marks from the glue stick rolling off the gray table was everywhere. My shoes, my backpack, my jeans. I'm patient and get kids can be messy, but this felt crazy. I tried catching the mom's eye, hoping she'd step in, but she just gave me a blank look like, this is how it is. I'm not confrontational, so when I got up to use the bathroom, I quietly shared the situation with a flight attendant. She promised to discreetly address it. When I get back to my seat, the mother was pissed. I don't know what the flight attendant said, but the mom claimed I was being discriminatory against mothers. And since the flight was delayed and she was just trying to keep her child entertained, then she started raising her voice, accused me of being a selfish man with no understanding of children. All this despite the fact that my lower half now looks bedazzled. There were no other seats available, so I was stuck for the rest of the flight with the lady's verbal attacks. The flight attendants gave me looks of sympathy but didn't want to step in. Of course, the mother gave me a final fuck you as we deplaned. I travel a lot, and this was the flight from hell. Not to mention, it was pretty embarrassing in the airport. Not that I can blame people for taking notice. Am I the asshole here? Was I wrong to get help in dealing with what I felt like was a glitter assault? Should I have just sucked it up and became a human art project? Dr. Jonathan Rom. I know in med school this was your area of expertise. Glitter monsters. You studied this really in depth. Take a moment to process and
well,
yeah.
Inside of our butts, we all have a glitter gland that not a lot of people know about. It's vestigial, like the appendix. Is supposed to be. So no, it's a bad time to get glitter on you. I don't know if you've ever gotten a substantial amount of glitter on you by accident. I once tried to make a I guess you could call it like a snow globe kind of thing. It was basically like you swirl it around. It's like a mason jar that you swirl around, and then there's a bunch of like glitter that like swirls around inside of some water and glycerin, and it's very
Oh yeah,
calming and
yeah, yeah,
soothing. I
yeah.
forget what they're called,
It's super
but
sensory. I like looking at
yeah,
those. Yeah.
yeah, they're very fun to look at. But I did, because I have two left hands, spill glitter all over myself when I was making it, and it was on me for not an insignificant amount of my life after that. It was it marked me. And to do that to yourself is tragic, but to have someone do it to you, even a child, it's very frustrating, I would say. Is this guy an asshole for saying something to an attendant discreetly to try to ask her to do something? No, no, I don't think so. Is there something this guy should have done differently? Uh, I'll be honest with you. This is one of those kind of classic conundrums with kids, right? Because
Hmm.
um, other people's children can quickly become your problem if they're
Yes.
not well behaved. And unfortunately, like, kids aren't participating in the society that we're all participating in. They don't know the rules, and frankly, even if they did, they don't really care about it. um but sometimes you have to move children from point A to point B. So, you know, I sympathize with parents that like have to distract their kids somehow, but glitter seems like a decidedly, I'm surprised they even let glitter on planes. They don't let like certain amounts of water on planes, but they let glitter onto planes. Like,
It's a solid object.
yeah, but
It
it just
feels like it's
seems
not, but
like,
it is.
no, but it just seems like I would be hesitant to bring anything onto a plane that it would very easily damage the plane aesthetically. Like, it's very hard to clean a plane.
Mm.
It's a whole process, right? So I would also be, have my reservations of that, not for security reasons, but for like as a company. Anyway, I digress. I think that as a parent, you do have a responsibility to other people. There's this like classic tale of the parent of a
Hmm.
newborn going around the airplane and hanging out little baggies with like earplugs and candy and like an apology note saying like, my kid's probably gonna cry and I know that's really annoying,
And it's written
but
in the
like,
kids' words, like from them in the future. It's like, hey,
exactly, they're just like, I'm
I really
sorry that
don't
I'm
like the
like
pressure
this.
from the air. Like, I'm gonna cry a
Yeah.
little. It's gonna be okay.
And
Signed,
hey,
Nathan. Yeah.
same, I also don't like the pressurization and depressurization of cabins. But no, I think that we we have to balance being empathetic to parents with the responsibility that people have to each other to not like ruin a flight for another person without some sort of way to mitigate it, right? Like, noise is one thing you can't help, but you can offer earplugs. um in the case, don't bring glitter onto a plane. The children are pretty easily distracted by many things that doesn't need to be glitter. I think that, I mean, I have very strong opinions about children being on planes anyway, but I think that this is a kind of clear indicator that the mother was in the wrong and that you were not uh, OP. I think that you did everything you could. Why the attendant didn't do anything about it or offer to switch you with someone if they could, or move you up to first class if they could, or help let you be the co-pilot, I don't know. I don't know what attendants can do in the situation. This is really is outside of the
Probably not
areas
the
of my
last one.
expertise. Probably not the last one. It's probably against some sort of regulation. But to step in and to do the unfortunate job, which is to parent a bunch of adults on an airplane in the sky. That is to be a flight attendant. It's not fair. No one's compensated enough for that job, but that is the job essentially. It's to shepherd these wayward souls uh 30,000 feet in the air, or however many feet you climb to. So, yeah, I don't think this guy's the asshole. Long story short, what do you think?
Yeah, I think those are a lot of interesting points. For me, there's something interesting that I want to talk about, and that is when people write a post or write a journal, we really want to take a look at the language they're using to kind of get a vibe check and see where people are at. And there's a lot of fun, colorful language in here. And I mean that not in the artsy fartsy way. I mean it, like let's call the kid Glitter Godzilla and that kind of thing. And there's like a playfulness to it. And what I would challenge is, and by the way, before I even get to how OP could be better, I'm not like, I do think they did the best thing they could. They went to the flight attendant, they said, hey, like this kid's playing with glitter. Can you tell them to stop? Maybe if that's what they said, you can be more directive with what you need. Hey, can I move to another seat if it's available? Hey, this isn't working for me. Is there, a different way we can plan this out? Can we have a conversation, the three of us? Maybe the mom, felt like it was a little backhanded that he didn't just speak up for himself. Before the glitter came out, and now it's like the kids enjoying the glitter, or whatever the case may be. But often when you're on long flights and there are kids around, like I play with kids all the time. Like if a kid is playing with something or playing a game, I'll be like, "Yo, that's a cool game. Like, you want to take turns?" It's 9 hours. Or if I'm playing a game, I'll do the same thing. Um, Obviously, ask the mom first if that's an appropriate thing. But in the case with arts and crafts, as a playful person, you can just direct to the next thing. If they're using the glitter, you can be like, "Oh, those markers look pretty cool. Why don't we use some of those?" That kind of thing. You can kind of do a little bit of a forced redirect. And there was a whole way that they could do this with everyone being friends. And again, I don't think the original poster is an asshole. I think they actually dealt with it in a very appropriate, fair way. They didn't, have a meltdown. They didn't like yell at the child for playing with glitter. They didn't call the kid to their face a glitter Godzilla. Um, and now they have bedazzled jeans. But I think there's a playfulness that we could explore in coaching, that maybe they're not accessing all the time, right? Are there things in their environment that they have thoughts about and enjoyment about, that they don't access on the day to day? That's what I would be interested from this journal specifically. Um, yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I'd be curious about exploring the playfulness and how many other clothings are bedazzled.
Interesting approach, because if I was coaching this the OP, I think I would have to go with, you know, how do you how to more directly confront people, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know if I agree with the approach of teaching them how to entertain children. Not because I don't think that, I think that's super valuable. I think
and and
redirection
and,
is
and
a
just
is
to
a method
clarify,
here.
I'm not saying that like the answer to this was playing with children, but just there's a lot of playful language, and they seem, they're sitting there and they're like noticing all the arts and crafts. Why not just get in there too, right? Like what's stopping them from joining the party? That's what I'm trying to say. It's not about entertaining children specifically.
I think that the thing that's, yeah, I see what you're saying, because I don't know if it's right to have glitter on a plane, but like we're always saying, you should choose being happy over being right. Um, and I think that would have been a mitigating like a strategy to mitigate this whole thing. But I also think that the person you spoke to should have been spoken to. Sorry, you should have spoken to the mother first. Not saying that would have yielded a difference, but I think that the direct response to her blow up, if you had confronted her first, you could have said, I very like respectfully asked you to put away the glitter because it's getting all over me, and that's not really fair. I deserve to not have glitter on me on this plane. The fact that you're screaming at me on a flight is not a great indicator of, like, you know of how it would have gone anyway if I hadn't gone to the flight attendant. I asked you directly first. It's not a matter of like public record that this lady screamed at you until you recorded it on Reddit, but it would like help you later be like, I did everything I could to be reasonable in this
Yeah.
situation. um
There is actually another thing. Sorry to interrupt that. I'm just re-noticing now. The kid was in the middle seat,
Evil.
right? Right. So there's 3 seats if there's a middle seat. So
Yeah.
another solution here, why not ask the mother, hey, I see that we're playing with glitter. Super jazzy. Love it. Love it. Do you mind if you switch seats just because there's a lot of glitter getting over me? That way she can still play with the glitter. Glitter Godzilla can have the win. I can have the win. And you're right. Like, there is a way to confront in a way that's not mean, right? What's wrong with
And I don't even think this person was being mean, but I agree with you. I agree with
Yeah.
you completely. I just think they were being avoidant, and I get
Yeah.
it, and I even understand why. And I can't even say with full certainty that I wouldn't have done the same thing because it's so awkward. But I think also I would have been like, hey, like there's glitter getting on me. Is there anything we can do to avoid that? Recruit the mom. That probably would have been my strategy.
Yeah.
To be like, how can we get this to be a more okay situation than what it is right now? Help me, help you, that kind of thing. But no, I also think that it wasn't the most unreasonable thing to go to the flight attendant, because it's also not your job to like manage other passengers on a plane,
For sure. And so there's
you
a
know?
couple for the listeners and the viewers out there, especially the ones in Ireland, which is still pretty cool. There's this interesting thing that happens, which is that there's a lot of, especially with a journal like this, there's a lot of
Mm,
places you want to go. There's a lot of questions that you want to ask. And we encourage you, one, to like on Spotify, there's a Q&A where it says, what do you think about this episode? Share your thoughts about how do you would approach this kind of thing, this kind of issue. It's not just are they the asshole, but if you were in the original poster's shoes, how would you respond to the situation? And then
yeah.
if we were both coaching original poster, there's a lot of things we can access with this journal, a lot of things we can ask about. We want to start uncovering beliefs around playfulness, around confrontation, like the other Jonathan, the wiser Jonathan with all the gray in their beard, pointed out, talking about, they even say in this journal, or sorry, in this post, I'm not confrontational. So when I got up to use the bathroom, I quietly shared the situation. Like, where else are you not confrontational? You said you're traveling a lot for work. I'm sure things happen. How often are you not standing up for what you want? Or is this happening at work? In one of the edits there, they share that they're married as well. Like, is this happening in your relationship? What's getting in the way, buddy boy? And we want to go there for sure. Just like we want to go to this next post, Jonathan Rob, if you'd like to
Oh,
take a read.
ooh, okay. All right. I like the segue. All right.
It was a segue.
Uh, it was a segue. Am I the asshole for having a drink on the way to a funeral? My wife's coworker passed away, and the memorial service was being held at a large Catholic church. When we got there, we went into the wrong door and we went into the area where a wedding reception was being held. I noticed they had a cash bar with a sign saying all tips went to the honeymoon fund. So I bought a beer, threw in a $20 tip, chugged it, and then went back out and found the right place. I was wearing a suit, so I fit in at the reception. I paid for my drink, I tipped, and I immediately left NDVW. I
I'm not
wonder if
sure.
that's a typo or does it what, I don't know. Not to the right place. So this was last Saturday, and my wife is still pissed at me. She said I was disrespectful and an asshole for invading a wedding. I did not. That's his commentary. The bar was outside the reception hall. She says I shouldn't have drank before the funeral. It was one beer. I think she is blowing this out of proportion. Am I the asshole? Sorry, I assumed he. That's not fair. They don't give pronouns, but they gave commentary that they did not invade the wedding. But what say you, Jonathan? the less wise, should we call you? No, that doesn't.
That's so mean.
Uh, what did you say? You were a rockin' grandpa? How about that?
Um, I said something about being a grandpa
Yeah,
one
you
day.
said something about being a grandpa. Hey, Grandpa
Yeah.
Jonathan, what do you
Oh,
think?
Gramps,
Gramps.
Gramps, 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 Gramps. What say me? Okay, so I think the interesting thing here is that the question asks, "Am I the asshole for having a drink on the way to a funeral?" That's not the question here. The issue is, am I the asshole for going to somebody else's wedding and drinking a beer at their wedding when I was supposed to be going to the funeral? Like, is it okay to invade the wedding? At least from I think the wife's perspective. Yeah, that's an interesting question because I think it's in the hall. Like maybe you don't even know it's a wedding, right? Like I get that in this case they did, but is it really a big deal to be pissed off at somebody for a week? How often are we getting pissed off at each other for weeks at a time? What's going on in this relationship? What happened earlier that day? Was this like a straw that broke the camel's back? Have there been other situations in previous weeks where you're being very exploratory and very laissez-faire with the rules, and your wife is like, could be a very structured person who is, rule following and good in the truest sense of the term. Like it would be a rule that if there's somebody's wedding and there's a cash bar and you're not invited to the wedding, you shouldn't access the cash bar. I can see why something like that might have two different logic patterns, whereas this individual, the original poster, bulky reference 7934, which is a fantastic name by the way, they thought, okay, but it's just in the hall, it's one beer, like who doesn't drink before they go to a funeral? I posted this one on TikTok earlier and I thought it was really interesting, and somebody was like, Catholic wedding, why not try meth? And I'm like, probably shouldn't do that, like let's stick to the beer for now, although we don't judge. But I see where you can go both ways with it. What I'm really curious about as a coach is, where else is this showing up in the relationship? How often are those two worlds and thought patterns clashing? And how often are we getting pissed at each other for weeks? Now, now that like the analysis is out of the way, do I think they're the asshole for having a drink on the way to the funeral? I personally wouldn't. If I see it's a wedding and it's not a wedding I was invited to, I would be with the wife. I wouldn't get the drink. If I really wanted a beer before the funeral, because I was, for whatever reason, just wanting a beer on the way to the funeral, maybe the person who passed away, owned a brewery and we wanted to honor him or them by having one of the beers. Sure. But, um, I probably personally wouldn't go into somebody's wedding and drink their alcohol. Maybe they only had a certain amount, or something like that, and it's their booze. But do I think they're an asshole for doing it? Not really. I don't. I think
Because
that
of the way we live our lives and this eventuality being unlikely, I feel okay asking this. Can I drink at your funeral?
honestly, yes. So here's my
Okay.
plan. Total sidebar, but I think it's important that I
Okay.
share this so people get to know me on
Absolutely.
it.
Oh, we got to talk about this.
Yeah. So for me, I want to have all of my organs, all the things that people can use, donated to science. What I do have a lot of health problems, so whatever is like actually usable at a doctor's determination, science to other people as organ donations, whatever the case is. Whatever is left of me, Viking funeral. Absolutely. I want to be
Oh,
sent out
okay.
onto a river in a boat.
Somewhere in
Uh,
Norway, I assume.
e- even here, that's fine.
Okay. Onto Hudson's Bay.
And if Viking funeral is like an offensive thing, I do apologize. But like that style of,
You want to be sent out on a boat and lit aflame with an arrow.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, I know, I
Um,
got you.
um, but yeah, so
I get it.
that's important to me. And at that event, I want there to be a band playing, one that I really like, even though people probably who are attending the event aren't into the same music. I don't care. I want people to celebrate me. I want people to have a craft beer in their hand, non-alcoholic if you so choose. I want there to be music. I want people to
Mm.
share funny stories about me. Like about all the times that I accidentally reacted to something dumb, had Benadryl, and then said things that were out of my control. Like I want all of that there.
That's lovely. Although now I'm thinking that the person who shoots the arrow either will be not drinking or having a non-alcoholic beer, or should bring several arrows. Because by the time we get to that portion of the funeral, I imagine it'll be hard to
No,
land
no,
that particular shot.
they're a hired archer, I think. So
Oh, I see.
they can
So,
participate after the shot. I want people to be safe still. Like you should not
okay.
drink and sling arrows. I don't think.
Any
But
particular song you're hoping for?
we just have like one episode of this podcast going for like the whole 2 hours, and everyone's just like in silence, being like, "That's kind of insightful, but why are they so goofy about everything?"
Yeah, exactly. It feels irreverent. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so you think about it. You can tell me the song, you can tell me the song after the
yeah.
show if you
Let
think
me
of
mull
it.
it over.
Yeah, no problem. So, what I'm hearing is that you're not totally on board with this person kind of peeling off from their wife to go drink. That's really maybe the sort of asshole behavior, is
Yeah.
to
So
kind of
definitively,
mm,
this is sort of the asshole. I do believe that there is a lot of. It's a very short post. My hunch, my coaching instincts and intuitions say there's a lot of pretext going here. Like if somebody signs up to, you as the exploring, like just tries things type of person, where if you see the bar in the hall, you'd be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll go do that. And that's what they sign up for you as a person. And then suddenly this is like an issue, like that behavior. I'm wondering how often this is showing up, and that's where I would go with this. But I do think, like personally, it's a sort of an asshole behavior. Where are you at?
okay. It's not very clear cut for me, also because of the lack of details, but like I'll kind of walk through my thinking. I think that if you are one of the people who is not, we'll put it like this: you're not the one who's sad at the funeral. You're there to console and be there for the people who are sad at the funeral. I think that maybe you shouldn't be drinking, because you have actually, funerals are tough because you have a job to do, mon ami. You got to show up for that person, and you probably want to be have your faculties about you. If you are one of the sad people, then I think it's a question of, um do you feel compelled to drink at the funeral? Because if it's a compulsion, that's probably something you want to, like, explore, because tragedy and traumas can be a tough time for people, and it's usually just not a good idea to cope with substances, because that can just kind of get out of hand really quickly, because it's kind of like it's really pouring fuel on a fire.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the sadness go away. You just feel less of it, and makes it last for longer. Um, but then if it's something that you just want to do to celebrate the person, or you want to do it because you just, like, you need a little bit, it's like something that comforts you, not usually, but like this is just something that you're having a hard time getting through. I feel like we don't judge here. Like, it's not about that. It's just we want this person to take care of themselves and be safe and be happy. So that's the alcohol side of things. The wedding side of things, this is weird. Are you allowed to just go in and it's not and pay for a drink at someone else's party?
It's like a
You
master of
can't
disguise kind of thing.
you can do this. Should you do this? Does it harm anyone? No. Well, you've now contributed to the funds of the wedding couple, but you've made your wife sad and angry. And that's not great. Do those cancel each other out? I don't know. You're just being sort of an asshole to your wife. It's not being an asshole to the couple. It's probably not being an asshole to the funeral. They'll never know unless you, like, smell like beer now and are a little bit buzzed and showing that off. The consequences aren't intense. It's just that you're not being very respectful of what your wife would want, and I think that's kind of not being a good partner.
Yeah.
So sort of an asshole. It's an interesting one. There's a lot of layers to it, and a lot of details would have made this easier to
To
decide. But I
judge.
think that to judge, as we often do, no, wisdom years. I'm being wise. The
Yeah,
wisdom is that it's complicated, but not showing up for your wife in the way that she might need at a funeral is kind of asshole behavior.
for
Maybe you're
sure.
going through your own stuff though, so we leave room for there to be reasons for you to do this. But if it's just to have a good time, maybe save it for after the funeral proper, so to
Yeah, and
speak.
I think something interesting here too. I was just thinking about the mechanics of it all. You know, you take an Uber or you drive to the funeral, you walk in the wrong door, there's a wedding there. Now, the other door might be, if there's a whole banquet hall, might be at the other side of the church, and there might be no other way to get through. So you'd have to like
Mm.
go and drive around. So who knows what the timing is like for the funeral, if there's like a viewing or something like that, and then you're in somebody else's wedding, you're like, oh, I have a few extra minutes, I could use a beer, right? So I'd want to know more about the timing too. Also, was the wife close with the coworker? Did you know the coworker as well? Like, there's a lot of story that's missing here that we would kind of want to get, but I think in terms of our hardcore wise judgment, we're on the same page, but for slightly different reasons. And again, if you're listening or watching this and you have your own opinions, we invite that. While John might be the wisest, he's not always, the most attuned to who the real asshole is.
Wisdom is listening to the wisdom of others.
Absolutely.
That's part of it. As I stroke my beard.
Love it. So if that's you and you want to share your thoughts, um, do it. We're
Do
everywhere
it.
on social media. We're posting these on Spotify and all the podcasting places. We'll get more into that
Mm-hmm.
later. But
Yeah.
comment, share your thoughts. We're open to learning from you too. And I know, John, that you're open to me reading our final post for today.
Yeah, I'm open to it after a lot of thought, realizing that the song that will play at your funeral is If I Die Young.
By who?
Uh Lady Antebellum. Maybe that's not what that song is called, but it's like If I Die Young,
It's
bury me in
prob
satin.
Yeah, that's probably not the song that I.
Give me a Viking funeral on Hudson's Bay. That's how that song goes, right?
It's exactly how it goes. And
That
here's how
felt
this
appropriate.
post goes. Take that, Mon ami. Okay. Am I the asshole for putting realistic fake spiders all over my room to stop my cousins from barging in? This is such a big fear of mine. Okay. We're going to confront it. Exposure. Let's go. My cousins Jamie and Alex moved in earlier this year along with my aunt Savannah since she's going through a divorce. Jamie and Alex are very rambunctious, fantastic word, which I guess is normal for little kids to an extent. But it's been getting very annoying because they keep barging into my room constantly. I've tried talking to them multiple times that I want my space to be respected. I also talked to Aunt Savannah about it, but they keep doing it and she doesn't really enforce that boundary. Jamie and Alex barge into my room whenever I'm tutoring as well. I put a sign on the door saying to not come in because I'm tutoring a student, but they'll ignore it and sometimes come in 2 to 3 times during an hour long tutoring session. These interruptions are very annoying and distracting to both me and the person I'm trying to tutor. I tried talking to my parents about it, and the fact that Aunt Savannah isn't enforcing the boundary I set with Jamie and Alex, but they told me not to press Aunt Savannah about it because divorce is hard and they don't want her to become depressed. My parents also don't let me lock my door unless I'm getting dressed. If I try, Jamie and Alex will run to my parents, and usually my dad will bang on the door until I open it. They don't see Jamie and Alex barging in as a big deal since my tutoring is technically volunteer work for my school's honor society, and it's not a quote unquote real job in their eyes. Since Aunt Savannah and my parents are refusing to really do anything, I've decided to start putting realistic fake spiders all over my room. I ordered some off Amazon and also paid a friend who's into ceramics to make some. Like most people, Jamie and Alex hate spiders, and after a few days of discovering quote unquote spiders on the doorknob and inside my room, Jamie and Alex now avoid my room like the plague. My parents got concerned that my room was actually infested and weren't really happy when they realized the spiders were fake. I pointed out that I'm not breaking any rules, and I got Jamie and Alex to avoid my room without making Aunt Savannah depressed by making her enforce the boundary with my cousins. My parents told me I was being mean to children whose parents just divorced and I should be ashamed with myself for purposely scaring them instead of being more patient. I feel I have a right to privacy, and when I'm tutoring my student, they also have a right to an interrupted session. But are my parents, and now Aunt Savannah, right that I was an asshole for the way I did it? Am I the asshole? This was the second focus of your med school degree, right?
Yep, I covered
Ceramic
glitter and
spiders.
spiders. Yeah, I specialized
That's
in
like
glitter and spiders.
it's like a community episode title, like ceramic spiders.
The glitter spider, the
Intro to
glitter
ceramic
ceramic
spiders. Yeah,
spider,
exactly.
the glitter ceramic spider is my luchador name. The
Pretty good.
thank you. No, you're not the asshole, but it's not about the spiders, is it? Uh yeah, accountability matters to people, you know? Like accountability matters um to anyone, but especially children. And it's funny because your parents almost understand this, right? They're saying you're accountable to your family to help them through this tough time. But accountability towards someone does not remove their accountability to you. They are required to respect your boundaries and your space. Now, boundaries is an interesting word because, you know, we talk about how boundaries, it's really like a defense mechanism that we use in order to not deal with people. And I think that's a little bit what's happening here, where this person doesn't want to like confront the fact that their aunt and their cousin have now kind of really invaded their personal space in a way that makes them very uncomfortable and actually like detracts from their life. And neither do the parents. And the parents have put up a boundary between them and their child, saying, no, like you have to deal with this, and you have to deal with it in a way that doesn't make your aunt living here harder or her kids living here any more difficult for us. But we're not going to help you do that. We're not going to show up for you here. So we're going to expect you to deal with it. And you did. That's what putting up boundaries does, right? It forces people to have to like work from their own devices, and sometimes it ends up way worse than this, and sometimes it ends up with realistic fake spiders in your room, which honestly is pretty innocuous in my view. You're not the asshole, but avoidance and passive aggressive behavior to solve your problems, just from a functional point of view, it's just not going to work for a very long time now, is it? Because how long will it take these children to understand that these spiders are fake? And how long will it be before this escalates into being a full-blown fight between you and your parents who are not trying to help you have boundaries in your home and feel safe and respected in your home? So that's the situation here. I also I don't want to like let it go that I commend you for finding such a creative solution to this. I don't think that should go without notice. You did a very creative thing that I never would have thought of, that technically met all the criteria, but it didn't meet the main criteria, which is that you unfortunately do need to confront your parents for being unfair and being selective in who they are accountable to. but you are not the asshole. You just have work to do, unfortunately. And this, I'm sorry that this is happening to you. That seems very unfair, but this is like, yeah, this is the meat and potatoes of having a personal space. You have to, know how to maturely address it when people come into it disrespectfully. And this is part of it. This is part of it. What do you think?
So I'm gonna go ahead and make the assumption that this original poster, u/mean to cousins, which is appropriate here. I'm gonna guess there's some kind of like high school. There's like a school honor society, and they're not getting paid for work. So I'm gonna guess they're under 18, high school age student.
Classic high schoolers working
Yeah,
for free.
yeah, exactly. Unpaid labor is totally fair. This is all a joke, by the way. I don't believe that. Anyways, John and I are both people who come from families of divorced parents, and I can tell you, and also as a youth worker for 10 years, rules still matter, and putting in place healthy systems really give kids an ability to understand what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do. Also, for Aunt Savannah, that's really important. So, for original posters, OP's parents to say, you're not allowed to say what you need because you're going to cause somebody's depression is not a fair statement. To say that, hey, your little cousins are moving into the house and that means you no longer have your personal space is also not okay. Great parents are great coaches. And what I mean by that, and not to just keep throwing the same thing in over and over and over again, coach, 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 the keywords, is that you can tell your kid, who in this case is a tutor, they're working towards their honor society. My hunch is that they'd probably be really open to learning how to work with their younger cousins better. There's a lot of systems that they could put in place really easily to squash the behavior of barging into the room. For example, hey, Jamie and Alex, I really appreciate that you want to come spend time with me, but right now I'm working. So tomorrow, if you don't barge into my room, if you don't come in, if that hour that sign is on the door, you don't come in, not only am I going to play with you, but we're going to play a full tournament of Super Smash Bros. And it's going to be the greatest time of our life. That's a much better way to go. There's a lot of ways where you can build systems in
Yeah.
for children without like crushing their hopes and dreams. Saying no to a kid isn't the same thing. Like saying no on its own is usually not enough. Kids require
Yeah.
explanations and logic. But to set up a system or a token economy or a way in which you can not only teach that you're allowed to have your space, which is something that they'll probably want in the future too in a healthy way, but that by doing the right thing earns them good stuff, everybody's winning. And it's really important to build that in early on, especially during a transition, right? These kids are going through double transition. Parents are getting divorced. I imagine if Aunt Savannah had to move into, a sibling's house with the two young kids, that was not an easy divorce to go through. Sounds like there's probably some complexity there. And by the way, this is all assumption. I'd want to ask a lot of questions about it. Those kids are going through a tough time. Aunt Savannah is certainly going through a tough time, but we can't just focus on that. We need to look at the whole picture because they're coming into your home and you're allowed to be happy too. So we have to create a system in which it works. And the sooner we build it, the easier those behaviors will be to manage. Also, good for you for being in high school and being like doing honor society work and like wanting to tutor other kids and wanting to figure this stuff out and being concerned with your aunt's depression and
What a
those kids.
mensch.
Yeah, what a mensch. There's just a better way to do it. And again, to your point, the spiders was certainly a creative solution, but the better solution is just let's put some rules in place. Let's put some systems in place. That way everyone can have an easy, happy time. Like, for example, under a different context, when we moved in with Kim and her two kids, when our families got blended, we had systems in place. For example, once a week we were allowed to voice our concerns with a talking stick, and we had like a conversation in a circle. And Lewis and Fernie, my siblings, my step siblings, but they're my siblings, had their rooms. We had our own rooms. And in that space, we were allowed to do whatever we wanted to do, which was, you're 15, you're like, I'm going to paint it purple and put up all of like my emo band posters and all of that. And that immediately told me that I have my own safe space. But the combined space is everybody's space, which means we can hang out, we can play games together, we can do whatever we want. And having those things in place gave us a lot of room and opportunity to build healthy relationships. And me and my siblings have very, very, very strong blended family relationship. We don't even call each other step siblings, right? And
True.
I know the
True.
situation is different here, but rules helped set the stage for that. Setting rules does not equal creating somebody's depression, and that's a misnomer. So I think there's a transition here. I think it was complex for everyone involved. I do not think original poster is the asshole at all. I think they could have used some coaching from the parents to offer some skills about how to deal with young children going through a big event like a divorce, and not to weaponize rules. Rules are a good thing when used in a healthy way. And other things to use in a healthy way are social media. And the healthiest way to use
The
social media.
segues today. I didn't even have a chance to say. I just wanted to say how, I might have the grays, but you're speaking true wisdom here. Because true, you're so right. It's incorrect to assume that just because the old structure is gone, new structure shouldn't exist. Like
Exactly.
kids, especially kids going through so much change, need structure. People going through a lot of change need structure and stability to kind of use as infrastructure to build the rest of their life on. And if you can't do that, it's just chaos. But that's all to say. You're 100% right. No notes. Okay, do your segue. Sorry to interrupt your perfect segue. It was so
No,
good.
no, it's cool. I like when people tell me I do a good job. It's nice. Good job, Jonathan's.
So good.
Like the review said. And if you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars on Spotify, comment on all of our posts on TikTok.com/I am the Bleep. We're on Instagram at Journal That Talks Back,
Am I the
Facebook as
bleep?
well. Am I the Bleep?
You said, yeah, you said I am the bleep.
I am also the Bleep, but you're
You
right.
are the bleep, but that's
Thanks
not
for
related.
thanks for catching that. It's
You're
TikTok.
so welcome.
Our handle is Am I the Bleep? We're
Yeah.
posting stuff there all the time. We have our new episodes coming on all streaming platforms. We're on Instagram at Journal That Talks Back, and Facebook as well at the Journal That Talks Back. Jonathan Rom, your third specialty for medical school, is telling us which other social media platforms we're on. Intro to social media.
We're on Elfwood.
Good, good.
We're there.
We're just there.
We're just there. Yeah, like I don't know what we're doing there because it's a science fiction and fantasy art and writing social media platform, or at least it was. But yeah, we're
there.
scribbling on trees.
Amazing. And just before we get to our last segment of the day, if you are at all interested in learning more about the coaching we do and how that all works, check us out at thejournalthattalksback.com. We offer unlimited and affordable coaching for everyone, really. It's $200 a month. $5 a month goes to a bank to help people who couldn't otherwise afford the service to help them afford the service. If you're in need of finding some mental health resources but don't know really where to start, still book a call. That initial call is free, and we'll help you get the resource you need. So don't be a stranger. Go to the Journal That Talks words today. Everything was good up until I have to do promo. Go to the journalthattalksback.com and click the book a call button. You'll be talking to me, the less wise Jonathan, but potentially the cooler Jonathan. And
that goes without saying.
Yeah, and we'll make moves from there. Dr. Jonathan Rom, intro to quotes. Are you ready?
Well, the quotes this week are going to is going to really make you think. It's There are no secrets to success. It is the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from assholes.